This is why you should never talk to strangers in an elevator. One day, a surgeon was working the night shift at a hospital. He just finished his last surgery and was going to the basement. He entered the elevator and saw a woman was already inside. They were casually chatting when the elevator door opened and another woman was about to enter. But the surgeon looked horrified. He quickly slammed the close button and pushed the highest floor in the building. Surprised, the woman in the elevator with him asked why he wouldn't let the other woman in the elevator too. That's when the surgeon explained all patients in this hospital wear white wristbands, but red wristbands were placed on corpses. The surgeon then said that was the woman I just operated on and she died on the table. Didn't you see the red wristband she was wearing? The woman in the elevator with him just smiled, raised her arm and said, "You mean like this one?" This is the haunting story of Jeff the Killer. Jeff was a young boy who moved into a new home with his family. One day, 3 teenage boys decided to attack Jeff and his brother, but Jeff managed to fight them off, leaving them in the streets with broken wrists and knife wounds. Unfortunately, after the incident, Jeff realized that he genuinely enjoyed inflicting pain and suffering on others. Later that night, Jeff's mother began to hear a strange noise coming from the bathroom of their house. It sounded like someone was crying. When she entered the room, she found Jeff carving a permanent smile into his cheeks, and she also realized that he had cut off his eyelids so he wouldn't have to sleep. Jeff's final words to his mother were, "Mom, you lied," after which he murdered his entire family and disappeared into the night. He was never seen again, but legend has it, he's looking for his next victim. This is why you should never answer the door late at night. A woman woke up to a knock at her door. When she opened the door, no one was there, so she went back to bed. A few hours later, she woke up again to a loud noise. She looked to her window and saw the word smile written in the frost. She reached over to call 911, but saw that a post-it note was stuck on her phone and it said, "I told you to smile." She ran out of the house, called the police, but nothing was found. The next night, she decided to put a camera in her room. But she could have never predicted what those cameras would show her. At 3 a.m., something crawled out from underneath her bed. It was a tall, pale man with no clothes and bulging veins all over his head. He walked over to the camera until his face took up the entire shot. Then his mouth widened into an unnaturally large smile. He just stared at the camera like that for hours, not blinking. The woman skipped the video until she saw herself getting out of bed and picking up the camera. And that was the last thing the cameras recorded, which meant the man never left her house. This is why you should never go on a Ferris wheel. Once a couple went to an amusement park when they saw something terrifying. There's a Ferris wheel there that was really popular, but it did have some rumors about it going around town. They say years ago a boy came there with his parents who knew he wasn't old enough to ride the Ferris wheel, so they left him alone. But this boy didn't want to be without his parents, so at the last minute he grabbed onto the bars, lifting him high up in the air. Eventually he couldn't hang on anymore, so he fell. But this couple thought it might just be a story, so they went on the Ferris wheel anyway. This is when the unimaginable happened. Everything seemed to be normal at first, but when they got to the highest point, the Ferris wheel stopped. Then it burst into flames out of nowhere. People began screaming in terror, some people fell, eventually they had to be rescued by a helicopter. The owners of the amusement park had no choice but to demolish the Ferris wheel. But this is when they found out something that chilled them to the bone. While they were taking it apart to find the reason it burst into flames, they found a pair of tiny shoes stuck to the mechanism.
This is why you should always be aware of your surroundings. In 2010, a girl was walking back home from school when she got the feeling that she was being watched. She turned around and that's when she saw a man hiding behind a bush. Out of closer inspection, she realized that it was her neighbor. She got extremely creeped out, so she ran back home. Later that day, she was studying in her backyard when she got the same feeling of being watched. She looked up at her neighbor's window and what she saw made her heart drop. Her neighbor was staring directly at her, and when he saw that she noticed him, he quickly ran away. Later at night, she was about to go to sleep when all of a sudden she heard the window slowly open. She turned the lamp on and looked over at the window, and what she saw made her scream in horror. Like for part 2.
This is why you should never try to investigate when you hear strange noises. Once there was a boy named Tom who was walking to school when he saw a photo lying on the grass outside. He picked it up and saw it was of one of the most beautiful girls he'd ever seen. She was wearing a dress, red shoes, and had her hands formed into a peace sign with 2 fingers up. When he got to school, he showed the picture to his friends in hopes that they would know who she was, but no one knew. That night, he woke up to strange tapping noises on his window. It sounded like someone had crawled up to his window and was tapping on it with their nails. He saw a faint shadow, but ignored it and tried to go back to sleep. The next night, he heard the tapping noise again. This time, he got up and tried to go outside to investigate, but right as he ran out, he was hit by a car. The driver came out of the car and tried to help him, but it was too late. He then found the picture next to his body.
he saw a girl holding up 3 fingers.